So this reading, Amy Chua is using the example of the Chinese population within Burma to support her thesis of that ethnic ethnic dominant minorities within the markets of societies around the world create the tension, which is then sparked by democracy and free market capitalism, and leads to conflict. Um, and this is done through, well, one process in which this comes to pass is through privatization. Um, she uses the example of the teak industry, which technically, officially, the Burmese government has a monopoly on. Teak is a very valuable wood that grows primarily 70% of the world's teak grows in Burma. Um, Technically, the government has a monopoly on this, but they reached a deal with a minority group of people in Burma um, that allows them to continue to do this to um, to export teak to China um, in exchange for a ceasefire. So basically, what it is, this isn't like full-on privatization, but it's an example of something that kind of went under the table and ended up essentially being privatization in one sense. But how much does this benefit the Burmese versus how much does it benefit the Chinese? The people of Burma get jobs cutting down, processing, and exporting this lumber to Chinese people in China, who get teak for a very, very low price. They pay the people for smuggling across the border, but the thing is, these people, what do they use the money on? They use the money to buy Chinese-made goods and household items. So as Amy Chua puts it, the Chinese get the teak and the money. And what did the Burmese get? Not a lot. Not a lot. Another example is the gem industry. Apparently Burma is very rich in its mineral resources. Um, when the Burmese government decided to privatize the gem industry, um, land that was rich in gems became incredibly valuable. And so the people who were capable of buying this land were the people who profited from it. The Chinese were the only ones who had the money to buy this kind of land, so they bought it all up, snatched it all up, and became fabulously wealthy mining resources. Burmese people were displaced, moved to less profitable areas, shanty towns and such. That keeps them in poverty, keeps them buying Chinese goods. So they essentially become parasites off of this thriving Chinese society. Um, it's self-perpetuating poverty. Um, there's this narrative that you hear going around about the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. That's not necessarily the case on paper. The numbers say that everyone benefits, but it's the perceived discrepancy. The poor get less poor, but only by a marginal amount, whereas the rich get fabulously more wealthy by a huge margin. Um, and it isn't fair, and the poor see that, the difference, and it makes them angry. Not just that they're not getting the money, but it's other people who are coming to their land, outsiders, who are doing it to them. Um, that can build resentment, and which can lead to war. It has led to war many times. Um, yeah, so that's the gist of it. It talked also about um, how it gave an example of Burmese artisans. Um, their wages are getting lower, but at the same time, the price of their goods is getting higher, which even for simple, uh, if we may use the term blue collar work as being an artisan, even those simple jobs, not exactly a CEO, they're even getting pushed out of that just by the economy. Um, the, the forces of the economy um, driving them out of their jobs working these traditional artisan crafts. But yeah, so that's the gist of what she's talking about.